They saw an Indian man with a white beard and white hair, and they just put him in the grandfather category immediately. He announced to the Prime Minister that he thought he could maybe live there. Ewan, our oldest, was really taken by the sculptures in the temple that he visited. So it really was the trip of a lifetime for us.
You think about going to India together. Can we talk about that trip a little bit? And what did it mean to you, to your family, to your kids? Key takeaways. What was the Prime Minister like? We hear there was a puppet show, but you know what I'm really after? I'm after everybody in this audience getting to know you, because I believe you're fantastic. I think you're going to be so good for our country as a role model in many ways. Share a little bit how that trip went in a way that everybody here gets to know you a little bit more, if we may.
Of course. Well, I mean, it was, I think I told an Indian publication this, it really was the trip of a lifetime for us. My children had never been to India, what with the pandemic and, you know, JD's entry into politics and all of that. And so they'd grown up just knowing so much about this country, the stories, the food, the relationships with grandparents and friends, but they had never actually seen it. So it was just sort of mind-blowing from their perspective. And then for me and JD, I think it just could not have been any more special. We had the opportunity to see some of the greatest sights in North India. We're looking forward to our next trip and trying to get to the parts of the country where my family is from as well. Mm-hmm. And it just was sort of one hit after another, right? The most incredible food, the peacocks that we got to see everywhere we went, getting to see the Taj Mahal in the morning and appreciate it as the sun was just sort of coming up and the cool skies and blue skies over in the background. And of course, as you mentioned, meeting the Prime Minister, that was really very special. We'd actually had a chance to meet him before. And it's funny, my kids saw him. They were sort of sleep deprived in Paris, and they saw an Indian man with a white beard and white hair, and they just put him in the grandfather category immediately. So they are very into him. They just love him. And he really cemented his status by giving our 5-year-old a birthday present that day. So when we were able to visit his home, they just sort of ran up, they were hugging him. He was just incredibly kind and generous to them. And I think it was a very productive conversation for JD and the Prime Minister, of course, but also I think it was a real opportunity for us to kind of cement that personal relationship that they have, which I think is only to the good. And as you mentioned, there was a puppet show. That was a particular highlight, with sort of puppeteering from all over the country, including from Andhra Pradesh, where my family is from. There were bits from the Ramayana, there were sort of comedic bits with animals, and it was a huge hit. My kids have been trying to recreate it at home with construction paper, which is going about as well as you can imagine.
You know, your kids, if I remember right, are 3, 5, and 7 years of age?
That's right.
If you can, share some of the takeaways, both during the trip and on the way back. I'm sure as parents you said, what did you think, what surprised you, et cetera, on it. I know that Prime Minister Modi has an ability to form unbelievable relationships with people of all ages, and I happen to believe that's just because he's a very sincere person. Share some of the kids' takeaways, if you will, because you through the mouth of young children, we learn so much about ourselves and others, how they view things.
Well, I think JD's probably told the story at some point, but when we were at the Prime Minister's residence, our son was just so taken by everything, and then taken by the entire cart of mangoes that was available for him to eat, that he announced to the Prime Minister that he thought he could maybe live there, and started making his plans. Dialed that back a little when he remembered quite how hot he had been earlier in the day, but he just loved it. And our children, they talk about it all the time, actually. They've been all over the place, and they've had wonderful opportunities to see the world, but this was really special to them. Ewan, our oldest, was really taken by the sculptures in the temple that he visited. He just thought it was incredible craftsmanship, and of course showed things that he was very familiar with from stories and from talking with me. And then Vivek, our middle child, was very excited to meet elephants and peacocks and a camel and just any animal that he could kind of get his hands on. And then our daughter, I think, she's just sort of along for the ride. She really enjoyed her time in an auto rickshaw. That was maybe the highlight for her. The Secret Service was very generous and allowed us to kind of drive in an enclosed area for a few minutes. So we had a lot of fun with that.
When you think about the U.S.-India relationship from your personal perspective, what comes to mind in terms of your views of it and your thoughts? Because you see it from an angle literally none of us do.
Well, of course, it is a very personal relationship because I have family members who are in India and I have many family members who are in the United States. Mm-hmm. And I did grow up visiting India and visiting those family members, and they grew up visiting me. So that's always been a relationship that I've personally thought of as very important. The way that I think about it more broadly is I think this is a time of great opportunity. Mm-hmm. And I think if my husband were here, he'd say the same thing. Obviously, the United States and India, their relationship has ebbed and flowed at times. There are times when one country's needs and one country's goals are different from the other. But right now, I think in the next 4 years and in the future, the fact that there is this established Indian American population here and so many people in India who know the country and know the people who are here doing great things, having great opportunities. When we were visiting recently, I was struck by the number of people who came up to me to say how much they loved our country, how they visited family, how they visited just for pleasure, that they were hoping for a close relationship looking forward. And I think these personal ties actually really have something to do with it.